Alrighty, good morning. I hope everybody had themselves a profitable night last night. I know I did. My name's CJ. Thank you so much for being here on this live stream. We're going to be taking a look at today's NBA slate, looking at your favorite NBA player props. That's points, assists, rebounds, PRA, three-point makes, blocks and steals, fantasy scores. If you want to look at those, we could look at those too. We're going to be covering it all, tackling it all. So again, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notifications are turned on. Go ahead and ring that bell so that I can alert you anytime that I go live, which is typically Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. All right. We're going to be looking at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is my favorite way to play A, daily fantasy sports, and B, player prop picks. 100% instant deposit match still happening over on PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, get started today. Use promo code Curry. You see it going on above my head here. There's a link down in the description below, and you could go ahead and get started. You put in $100, they'll match it, giving you $100. You'll have $200 to carry you through the rest of this NBA season. Now, speaking of links down in the description below, free Discord there. feel free to jump in there. I'll be doing some free entry giveaways this Friday. I call it Free Entry Friday. I give away a number of different free 2 picks to win $100 over on PrizePicks. Make sure that you're inside a Discord so that you can enter in that free giveaway. Doesn't cost you anything, all right, folks? Free entries to win real money. And if you want to join Patreon, there's still some time left in the month for you to join Patreon. Yes, it's best to join Patreon at the start of the month, but if you want to join in now, I have a very high confidence that you will win back your $20 in the time that it takes for the rest of this month. So like 7 days. You have about 7 days to win back your $20. If you want to be a part of a winning community, Patreon is the way to go. The link's down in the description below. Listen, we had ourselves a good night overall as a community. There was a lot of different picks being shared back and forth. You folks, man. You folks in Patreon, y'all did your thing, man. We came with some really, really nice picks. Helped me cash a number of different entries over on PrizePicks. I'm typically a 2-pick killer, a 2-pick player, whatever you want to call me. But I did hit on a 5-pick, late night 5-pick. I combined some picks from those last 2 games of the night. And it ended up putting me up 10x my money. So shout out to everybody out there who's in the Patreon community. Now, let's take a look at the chat. I got D Graves up in here. He says, good morning. Had a great night last night. Thanks, fam. Good to hear that. Hunter won himself some money as well. $135 richer. Shout out to you, Hunter. Who else we got in here? Scroll through here. Travis A says, what's good, CJ and the people? Let's get to this cheese. Love it, love it, love it. Trevor's in here. He says, good morning. I lost a unit yesterday. Time to take it back. Yeah, well, losing 1 unit's not so bad in the grand scheme of things. Not going to probably win every single night. Not all of your entries or all of your picks are going to be winners. But, you know, the good news is this is daily fantasy sports. We get to do this every single day. So, yeah, we're going to get back at it again today. Punchline says, good morning, gang. I placed a $40 bet yesterday and I hit for $500. I hope everyone had as much luck as me. Let's keep this same positive energy today and by the Hulk smash that like button. Hulk smash that like button, my man says. I love that. Drew Bree says, good morning, Patreon gang. Had another great night. If you haven't joined yet, you're missing out. Drew Breeze, thank you, man. I appreciate you shouting out the Patreon. Yeah, I think, like as I said, you know, we had a good overall day last night. Tony Ruiz says, good morning, CJ. Hit that like button as you come in and have a seat. Leave your hands and feet inside the ride at all times because yesterday we ate at Patreon. So he's another one of our Patreon members who had himself a good night. I think overall, man, most people did. Most people did. Todd, Live for Sundays. Good to see you in here. Moody Clips won some money. I know Moody had been struggling. It's good to see Moody. Moody's back on the winning track. So shout out to you. We got Aaron Rodgers in here. The GOAT's in here. We got Ari. Shout out to Ari. He said, good morning, gang. Winner, winner, chicken, freaking dinner. Let's repeat again today. Yeah, they're running a college basketball promo too over on PrizePicks. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Pick 3 lovers. Good morning. Ready to be served. I love that. Travis Knott's in here. Good to see you, Travis. Got Mark H in the building. Good morning, CJ. Hope you know how to swim. Yeah, there's a lot of rain happening down here in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. It's kind of a dark and gray skies, we'll say. 3B says, CJ, money making Curry do work, son. Oh, yeah, go Magic. Well, you know, man, I'm always holding it down for my Magic. Always holding it down for O-Town. I'm living in Tampa, but, you know, lifelong Orlando Magic fan over here. Everyday Fantasies in the building. Good morning, peoples. Good day, Chef. Patreon gang. Live stream. FYI, if CJ and the Gold Gang ain't paying for your Patreon, you are doing something wrong. Yeah, I mean, there's too many good picks for people to be losing. You got to switch up the strategy. If you're not winning and you're in Patreon, man, you got to switch up the strategy. Some of y'all are chasing too many of them 5-pick plays. You know, your bread and butter should be with those 2-pick, maybe even 3-pick entries, and then you take a couple of shots. You dabble in the 4s and the 5s, all right? But if you're sticking to mostly 2 picks and 3 picks, then you ought to be up for the most part. You ought to be up. That Hunt boy is up big. I saw some winning entries dropped by that Hunt Boy 92. He says, good morning, fam. All I see is green. CJ's the GOAT. Well, I think we're all GOATs. Everybody who's a part of the community is a GOAT. Ronald's Green with the solid what's up. Good to see you. Jimmy Green. I'm ready to win $1 million. Well, are you doing that on PrizePicks? You're winning $1 million on PrizePicks? That would be impressive. Shaggy, drop him off. Yo. Sean Vega, yo. What's happening? What's happening? Nick's Rashad for life says, respect the channel. I already hit the like button. Just waiting on the GOAT. Well, here I am. I'm a bad man. The GOAT's in the building. The GOAT's here. No, I ain't no GOAT. I'm just a mere mortal trying to help a few folks with their player prop research. Appreciate all the love, though, gang. If I missed you, you know what it is, man. It's all love. There's so many of y'all in here. It's hard for me to speak to each and every one of you. Shout out to Osmosis Jones, another Patreon member. Shout out to Milan George. Shout out to J. Jordan, J12, Dub93, a.k.a. Dub93. Trey Prince is in here. Ace V's in here. King's in here. Rusty Bearings is in here. Shout out to everybody. Voodoo, number 9's in here. All right. Divine Truth a lot. Look, I could go on all day shouting you all out. Let's get down to business, though. We got a little short NBA slate. Not a whole lot of games, not a whole lot of props, but we do have some college basketball tonight, so it's a good night for hoops overall. Pro hoops, amateur hoops. We got hoops galore on today's slate. So let's get down to the NBA slate. And then while I'm going through these games, be thinking about some points props that you want me to take a look at. Get those points props loaded up. Let me know what you want me to take a look at. I'm here for you guys. I'm the only person on YouTube that's willing to sit down for an hour and a half, take time out of my day to help you guys with your player prop questions and your player prop research. Nobody else is taking a hands-on approach like this. I don't care who your favorite YouTuber is. Ain't nobody doing it like Curry doing it, okay? Okay? And that's facts. That's big facts. So I'm going to help you with your player prop research. You let me know what points props you're going to want me to look at. Then we're going to move to assists, rebounds, PRA, three-point makes, blocks, and steals, okay? I'm here for you. I'm a man of the people. So let's get down to business and talk about today's NBA slate. 7:30 p.m. is when the first game tips off tonight, not 7 p.m. Eastern time. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Cleveland Cavaliers at the Toronto Raptors. We got 214.5 points. Not a super high total. 5.5 point spread, though. It looks like it's going to stay close and competitive. We've got Dean Wade, Rajon Rondo. We've got Jarrett Allen, Colin Sexton, all out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the Toronto side, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, both game time decisions. Keep an eye on those guys. If they are out, then Fred VanVleet obviously would get a bump. Scotty Barnes would get a bump. Pascal Siakam would get a bump up. All right, no Malachi Flynn, no Johnson for Toronto. So keep an eye on Gary Trent Jr. and OG Anunoby for the Toronto Raptors. 8 p.m. tip-off, we got the Indiana Pacers at the Memphis Grizzlies. 236 points, but a 12.5 point spread. So I got to put you guys on blowout alert, because this game at 12.5 points is most likely going to blow out. Now, maybe it's more competitive if the likes of Isaiah Jackson, Malcolm Brogdon, Jaden Smith, if these guys are in the lineup, Chris Duarte, if they end up taking the court for Indiana, then maybe this game ends up being a little bit more competitive. But if any of those guys are out, then this is most likely going to be a blowout. Now, on the Memphis side, they're dealing with some injuries of their own. Ja Morant being the most notable. He is a game-time decision right now, but we got 236 points between these two teams. That is a nice total. So you could always look at overs for first half only. That's what I did last night. I took some Duncan Robinson over first half points. I took some DeAndre Ayton over first half points. I took some Andre Drummond over first half points. I saw some people taking some Steven Adams over first half points and fantasy points. I took Jakob Poeltl over first half fantasy points. I took Joel Embiid over first half points. So if you're scared of a blowout, if you're worried about a game getting out of hand, I love the fact that PrizePicks provides so many different first half only choices for us to play. Don't forget about those. Don't sleep on the first half only plays. They hit. They hit really nice when they do. All right, so let's move it on down to the next game, the Washington Wizards at the Milwaukee Bucks. We got 8 p.m. tip-off time here, 233 points. And once again, gang, I have to put you on Blowout alert. Blowout alert. We got a 13-point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. No surprise here. Looks like Washington's going to be without Kyle Kuzma once again. He is scheduled to be out tonight. Milwaukee going to be without Chris Middleton. He's going to be out as well. But even with Chris Middleton out, Milwaukee still the much better, more talented, more experienced team, which is why we've got a 13-point spread in favor of the Bucks at home. So again, first half only plays could be the way to go in a game with a 13-point spread. Consider doing some more first half research, all right? Moving it down here, we've also got the Chicago Bulls at the New Orleans Pelicans. 227 points, 2-point spread. We finally get a game with a nice total with a close competitive spread. Keep an eye out on DeMar DeRozan, though. He is a game time decision. Got to see if DeMar DeRozan's in or out before I lock anything in. I'm not trying to jump on the Chicago Bulls props too early. If DDR is out for Chicago, that's obviously going to bump the likes of Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, Nikola Vucevic. Lonzo Ball's still out for Chicago. Over on the other side, we got New Orleans. Looks like Devontae Graham is going to be playing tonight. Brandon Ingram, a game time decision. He's missed a handful of games here lately. He's not looking to be rushed back into the lineup. You know, their season's not looking too good. Doesn't look like they've got any playoff hopes or postseason aspirations in New Orleans. So you may see Brandon Ingram continue to sit for the New Orleans Pelicans. But I like the total nonetheless at 227 and the fact that this game is just a 2-point spread. Hopefully it stays close and competitive. Now finally, probably the best game of the night is the last game of the night. A 9 p.m. tip-off between the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets. 232 points between these two teams. A 4-point spread. I mentioned earlier DeAndre Ayton for first half points ended up hitting. He was at 8.5, and that's just far too low. If they keep giving us DeAndre Ayton at 8.5 points, even 9.5 is worth considering the way that he's been playing. I think we go back to some DeAndre Ayton. But tonight's matchup is against Nikola Jokic. It could be a tough task for DeAndre Ayton to keep the success going. He had his way with Karl Anthony Towns last night in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Big question is, do we think Ayton can do it again against Jokic? We'll have to wait and see. Love the total here. Spread's a little questionable. Cam Johnson, game time decisions. First time I've seen Cam Johnson as a game time decision in the last few days. Chris Paul's still out for Phoenix. Over on the Denver side, nothing really changing in terms of who's available for them. It's been the same group of guys who have been sitting out for the Denver Nuggets for most of the season. But this game here at 232 points with a 4-point spread. Let's pray to the basketball gods right now that this game does not blow out, that it stays close and competitive. Please, basketball gods, if you're out there and you're listening, don't let the best game of the night be a blowout. Let's keep it close and competitive for all of our daily fantasy sports players, for all of our props bettors out there who like to take the overs. Let this game, please let this game stay competitive. Thank you and amen. All right. Said a little prayer for us. That's all we can do, right? Is hope for the very best. Let's go ahead and move forward here. Hopefully you guys have dropped off some points props into the live chat. We're going to be using Props.Cash as we always do. It's my go-to for my player prop research. Instead of having 50 different tabs open with all this different information spread out everywhere, they've kind of consolidated things into one simple to use, easy web application. And speaking of applications, they just launched their mobile app too. So if you're on iOS, if you're on Android, Props.Cash now has a mobile app that you can go download as well. So check out the Props.Cash website, the mobile app, all of that stuff. If you want to get started with Props.Cash, you've never used it before, there's a link down in the description. I'm going to save you 25%. Use code Curry when you go through the checkout. All right, so here we are at the NBA player prop trends page on Props.Cash. We're going to be looking at points first and foremost. We're going to be changing the splits from current season to the last 10. We want to see the guys who are covering their points props at the highest rates over the last 10 games. Now, you could go lowest rates. Props.Cash makes that easy too. If you're one of those people who are hunting for unders, well, you could look at lowest hit rates instead of highest. But in this case, we're going to be looking at the highest hit rates using the Props.Cash player prop trends page here. So as we go through these, let's skim through them real quick, and then we'll turn things over to the chat. We'll start looking at some of the points props you want me to research for you. Starting things off, we got Darius Garland, 23.5 points and 80% hit rate over the last 10 games. That means he has gone for 24 or more points in 8 out of his last 10 contests. So Garland's been doing a good job scoring the ball. Nikola Jokic, Drew Holiday, Evan Mobley, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, all covering their points props at a 60% hit rate. Now from there, things really start to fall off steeply. You got guys hitting at 50% like Kristaps Porzingis, Jonas Valanciunas, and Lauri Markkanen. And then it gets real ugly, 40% or less for the rest of the guys on today's list. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the chat is talking about. What you guys talking about? You guys are saying Brandon Ingram is out until early April. Thank you for dropping that. I see you guys are saying Cam Johnson is out indefinitely. Thank you for dropping that. Sometimes Number Fire, they put some stuff up there that's a little wonky with guys being ruled out or game time decisions. So I appreciate you clarifying. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's see what you guys are talking about here. Days 522 says Osimo is done. What does that mean? Osimo is done. Switch to this channel going forward, man. Days, I appreciate that. That's huge. You're saying that you are leaving Osimo for me? Oh boy, I love it. I love it, Days. Thank you so much for being here. What are these points props looking like? Which points props are you guys? I see Sean Vega's already shouting one out. He's talking about Drew Holiday at 19.5 points versus the Washington Wizards. Let's talk about some Drew Holiday. He's covering his points prop of 20.5 over on Props.Cash at a 60% hit rate. So let's talk about Drew Holiday. He had himself a pretty nice day scoring the basketball the last time we saw him out on the court. Of course, Chris Middleton was out. Drew Holiday's point prop in that game was 18.5 versus Chicago. He's at 19.5 today, so they have bumped him up. But let's just see what he's done this season. So we'll go to the season view. We'll take Chris Middleton out of the equation here and see what the hit rates are looking like for my man Drew Holiday at 19.5 points. Now this is at 20.5. We're going to bump him down to 19.5. His hit rates don't change at all. He's still at a 40% hit rate this season with Chris Middleton out of the lineup. So that's 4 out of 10. So it's not the greatest hit rates in the world. So this is going to have to be a good matchup in order for me to feel encouraged by playing the over on Drew Holiday. So we'll take a look at that matchup now. Washington's defense, they rank 18th in total points allowed, 17th in field goal percentage allowed, 2nd in three-pointers allowed, 20th in three-point field goal percentage, 23rd in free throws allowed. So maybe you consider some free throw props against this Washington defense. And then they rank 13th against shooting guards, which, you know, Drew Holiday's a point guard, not really a shooting guard. But I digress. Let's take a look and see how he's done against Washington this season. He's played Washington twice. One game, this one here, was without Chris Middleton. He scored 14 points. With Chris Middleton, he scored 22 points. That was back in February 1st to be exact. So he's 1 out of 2 or 50% at covering his points props of 19.5 against this Washington Wizards squad. Now, one thing that I've been paying more close attention to now that we've got a pretty comprehensive set of data here is the home and road splits. How does a player perform at home in a certain prop category versus how he performs on the road? And we could do that using Props.Cash. We could take a look and see if maybe he's more of a home splits guy or a road splits guy. So does he score better when he's at home or on the road? Well, he's at home tonight. So let's start it off by looking at home. At home at 20.5 points, he's covered this in 48% of his games. Now on the road, he's covered in 43% of his games. So he's not really a big splits guy. Slightly better at home at 48% versus 43% on the road. So he's at home tonight. Maybe that's a little bit more of an encouragement, you know, that we take the over on Drew Holiday. Anyway, let's move forward here. We're going to be looking at the last 15 games, point guard position, and we're going to see how many points that the Washington Wizards are giving up to opposing point guards in the last 15 games. So we scroll down here. We find Washington, they're giving up about 24 points per game to point guards, which puts them like right in the middle of the pack. Not overly difficult, not overly easy, kind of an average matchup. But the fact that they're giving up 24 points per game, Drew Holiday needs 20, is a bit of encouraging news. Now we could also change this from last 15 and just look at the last 7. Is Washington giving up more or less points in the last 7 versus the last 15? Well, let's find out. So we click last 7. We go find the Washington Wizards. They're giving up about the same, 23 to 24 points per game to point guard. So things not really getting any better or worse here for Drew Holiday when you look at last 15 versus last 7. So let's move it forward. Let's get you a projection here for Drew Holiday's points. These projections are provided by Action Labs, which is part of the Fantasy Labs Premium package. If you want to sign up for Fantasy Labs, go check them out, fantasylabs.com. The projection for Drew Holiday's points, 19 today, slightly less than the 19.5, but I will tell you this. He is at 2 different prop lines today on a number of different sports books. At 19.5 points, the public, they're betting the over, minus 125, minus 130. They think 20 or more points is well within reach for Drew Holiday. But at 20.5 points on some of these other sites, they're not so encouraged. They're taking the under at 20.5, thinking 20 or less is the way to go. So 19.5 on some books, 20.5 on others. He needs 20. Maybe he ends up landing right on 20 and you end up hitting the over. So not the worst matchup in the world, not the worst situation. Drew Holiday playing at home without Chris Middleton. We saw what he did in his last game against Chicago, easily covered 19.5. So Sean, Vega, I think Drew Holiday's probably in play. I think he's probably in play. Let's see. What other points props are you guys shouting out here? Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert, huh? That's not a name that I click on a whole lot, but he's going up against Milwaukee. Kispert, known to be a pretty nice little three-point shooter. But as I said, he's not somebody that I've been clicking on a whole lot for his points. Let's take a look at him, though. You mentioned him. I'm a man of the people. I'm here trying to help you out with your player prop research. So let's figure out if Corey Kispert's points are a good look or a bad look tonight. Obviously, Kyle Kuzma's going to be out. They're going to need somebody to step up. That usage has to be dispersed somewhere. So Corey Kispert, Raul Neto, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Rui Hachimura. These guys are probably going to absorb those shots that are vacated by Kyle Kuzma being out of the lineup. Oh, and Kristaps Porzingis. How could we forget him as well? Anyway, Corey Kispert's at 11.5 points. Over the last 10 games, he has covered this in 9. Oh, that ain't right. Got to make sure it's right. There we go. He's covered this in 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is a 60% hit rate. Let's look at the last 5 games here. Got to make sure your prop lines are dialed in here on Props.Cash to what they should be. He's gone 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate, including 4 straight games. He's had 15, 14, 13, and 13. So he's been definitely doing his thing in terms of hitting the points props in his last 4 games, averaging 11.8 points per game over the last 5 and 12.2 when you look at the last 10. Now versus Milwaukee this season at 11.5 points, you can see that he's went under in 2 games. He scored only 5 against Milwaukee at the start of the season back in November. More recently, February 1st, he scored just 7 points. So he's went under against this Bucks squad in 2 previous matchups. Now what we can do here is look at the season view. We could take Kyle Kuzma out of the situation, see what things look like with Kuzma out. His hit rates are about 40% at, let's see, at 11.5 points, 40%. If we take both Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal out, let's see what we've got. Well, he's 2 for 2 in games without Beal and Kuzma. 2 of the major players for the Washington Wizards being out. My man has gone 2 out of 2, scoring 13 against the Lakers on March 19th, scoring 13 against the Rockets on March 21st. So he's 2 out of 2 with both Kuzma and Beal out, which is going to be the situation tonight, right? Both of those guys are going to be out. Looking at this Milwaukee Bucks defense, they rank 16th in total points allowed, 8th in field goal percentage allowed, 30th in three-pointers allowed. So maybe you fire up some Corey Kispert for three-point makes if he's up on the board. They rank 18th in three-point field goal percentage, 6th in free throws allowed, so you probably don't want to take any free throw props against the Bucks, and then just 23rd against opposing shooting guards. So Even if this situation turns into a blowout, which most likely it will, Corey Kispert's a young guy. Maybe he gets out there and runs his full minutes. In those games with both Kuzma and Beal out, he's getting about 32 to 33 minutes per game, 31.9, 32.9. So Kispert may not be in that bad of a situation here with both of those guys out. Let's go take a look at the last 15 games. Kispert versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are giving up 25.2 points per game in the last 15 to opposing shooting guards. So that is the fourth highest points allowed per game to shooting guards. So the matchup is a very good one. It's a top 5 most favorable matchup for the likes of Corey Kispert. And I'd probably even throw Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the mix here too. Kispert, KCP, shooting guard, small forward, interchangeable, both wing players. Both play on the wing for Washington. Looking at the last 7 games, shooting guards against this Milwaukee Bucks squad, they're still giving up 24 points per game in the last 7. So a healthy amount of points given up to the shooting guard spot. Let's also look at the small forward position here. Bucks giving up about 23 points per game to small forwards as well. So I think both Kispert and KCP could be in very good spots here based on the averages of points allowed given up by the Bucks. So we move it forward here. Let's take a look at Kispert. Kispert, 12.1 projected points at 11.5. The public not feeling so great about Kispert. They're taking the under. Let's see what they have for Pope as well while we're looking at them. They got KCP projected for 13.3 points, and at 14.5 points, we're not really seeing too much line movement. In other words, people aren't betting the over. They're also not betting the under on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The only action I'm seeing right now is a slight betting favorite at 14.5 points to go under for KCP. But I'm not going to be surprised if one of these guys ends up hitting their points props. You're getting a better deal, I guess you could say, on Corey Kispert at 11.5. KCP obviously has to hit 15 or more points. Kispert has to hit 12. So maybe you take a little bit of the value here with Corey Kispert, who's hit his points prop in 4 straight games and looks to be in a pretty good matchup tonight. All right. So there's a couple of Washington Wizards wings. Washington Wizards wings to consider. So appreciate you, Travis, for leaving that suggestion there. Glad we looked into it. They both look like they're in pretty good spots against the Milwaukee Bucks. Scatman Do says, bang them likes. Appreciate you, Ryan, and the folks to hit the like button. That's how the channel grows. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And I don't want this channel to die. I want it to keep growing. Travis A is talking about some Pascal Siakam points. Listen, for me, I'm going to have to wait and see what's going on with the Toronto Raptors. Siakam's at 22.5 points, but we've got pending news, right? We've got Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby. Both of those guys look like game time decisions. So for me, I'm going to wait and see on Pascal Siakam. So therefore, I won't talk about him in depth right now. But if those guys are both out, then I think Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet all get a nice little upgrade without OG, without Gary Trent Jr. Scrolling through here. Lewis8806 says, no lie, I stopped playing DraftKings and stopped listening to Asimo. You got the content, big dog. I appreciate it, man. Listen, I'm just sitting down with you folks, chopping it up over some player props, helping you dig through the numbers, the research together. So hopefully you guys continue to, support the channel, man. I really hope so. Anyways, going through here, taking a look at some other points props. Yeah. King says Drew Holiday should receive a nice amount of minutes tonight. I agree. And hopefully he's going to be a big factor in why the Milwaukee Bucks blow out the Washington Wizards. I agree with that. What else are we looking at? Looking at some other points here. Stonky Kong's recommending Giannis Antetokounmpo under on points. Giannis Antetokounmpo under on points at 32.5. Well, listen, some unders on Giannis haven't been a bad look lately. I think the PRAs, he's gone under his PRA line in like 4 straight games. So maybe you go under on Giannis Antetokounmpo's points as well at 32.5. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Giannis, 32.5. He is going up against Washington. We look at the last 10 games for Giannis. He's gone under 32.5 points in 4 out of his last 10. He's only gone over 32.5 in 4 out of his last 10. He has gone under in 6 out of 10. So just a 40% hit rate at covering 32.5 points. We look at the last 5 games. You can see he's only gone over in 2 out of 5, meaning he has gone under in 3 of 5 games. Against the Wizards this season, he split. He's hit under once. He's hit the over once. So 50% hit rate for Giannis, averaging about 31 points per game versus Washington this season. Now, I mentioned earlier that I've been looking more and more at the splits, how players perform on the road versus at home. Well, in this case, as we mentioned for Jrue Holiday, the Bucks are playing at home. So let's see how Giannis has done at home this season. He's only covered 32.5 points at home in 11 out of 30 games. That is a 37% hit rate. Versus on the road, a 23% hit rate. So he's a slightly better scorer at home than he is on the road. Now let's remove Chris Middleton from the situation here. Middleton will not be taking the floor tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks. So if we take Chris Middleton out, you could see overall this season, he's only covered his points prop with Chris Middleton out of the lineup in 1 out of 9 games. 35 points was the most he scored. That was against New Orleans. So he's just 1 of 9 of covering this points prop of 32.5. More specifically, we go to the home games. He's 1 of 4 without Chris Middleton this season. Just a 25% hit rate. So pretty staggering information when you really start to dig into it. Thank you so much to Props.Cash for making this a much easier process to be able to see what happens when Chris Middleton's off the floor, when he's not involved in these games. But yeah, just an 11% hit rate at 32.5 points for Giannis without Middleton. So very, very insightful. Looking at this Washington defense, we've already kind of talked about them for Jrue Holiday, but they do rank 18th against small forwards. Giannis playing more of the power forward position. So let's go take a look at Washington over the last 15 games, see how many points they're giving up to opposing power forwards. So we scroll down here, you see that they're giving up about 21.5 points per game, which is not, the best. It's kind of middle of the road. They're not an overly difficult defense, not overly easy either. So just an average type of defense against opposing power forwards when it comes to points. Now let's see if that average goes up. They're at 21.5 roughly in the last 15 games. We look at the last 7 games, and Washington giving up less points in the last 7 games than they have in the last 15 games. They're now at 19.6 points. So they've been doing a better job defending the points against power forwards. So let's move forward. Let's get you a projection on Giannis here. I know it never feels good to take the under on Giannis Antetokounmpo, but folks, it's lining up to be one of those types of plays where you might want to consider taking the under on Giannis tonight. At 32.5 points, I'm seeing the betting public torn here. A couple of different sites, they're taking the over at 32.5 points. But I'm also seeing some people bet the under on other sports books at 32.5 points. His projection today is 31.4. So, really give some serious close consideration at taking the under on Giannis tonight. Like I said, one of the best players in the entire world. It never feels good, never feels comfortable taking the under on him. But numbers don't lie, man. What they say, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. He's covered this in just 1 out of 9. Anything could happen, though. Obviously, he could come out there and have, 33 points on any given night. So do with that information what you will. We're providing the facts, the stats, and you guys got to decide what you want to do with them here. But for me, I'd have to lean toward the under. As uncomfortable as it sounds, I might have to lean toward the under on Giannis. Taking a look at some of these other plays you guys are mentioning. Obviously, Darius Garland at 23.5 points. We mentioned him at the top of the prop show here, being that he's at an 80% hit rate over the last 10 games. That means he's gone over in 8 out of 10. So let's take a look at Darius Garland real quick, and then we'll probably move on from these points props. But Darius Garland at 23.5 will probably be a very popular option on a short NBA slate. Let's look at his last 10 games here. You can see what he's been up to, 8 out of 10. His average is 25.7 per game. Last 5, 24.8 per game. But against the Raptors this season, he has struggled. Going back to November, he had 21 points against Toronto. December, he had 22 points. And more recently, in March, he had 17 points. So he is 0 for 3. 0 for 3 against this Raptors squad at covering his points. He's averaging about 20 points per game versus Toronto in those 3 meetings. Now this season, Let's take a look at his splits. He's going to be on the road tonight. At home, he covers this prop in 43% of his games. On the road, he covers at 43%. So it's no advantage that he's playing on the road. The splits are exactly the same. 43% at home, 43% on the road. Looking at this Raptors defense, they ranked 9th in points allowed, 18th in field goal percentage, 14th in three-pointers, 15th in three-point field goal percentage, 13 in free throws allowed, and 12th against opposing point guards. So speaking of point guards, let's take a look and see what the Raptors have been up to in the last 15 games. How many points are they allowing to the point guard position? They're giving up just 22 over the last 15 games. That is the 7th fewest. 7th fewest points allowed. Not an easy matchup. Let's see if things get any better over the last 7 games. They do. They're giving up over 23 points to point guards in their last 7 games, but still 23 points per game allowed to point guards in the last 7. He needs 24, so it's going to be a tough ask for Darius Garland. Moving it forward, we're going to get you a projection on Garland. He's projected for 24.1 points, slightly more than 23.5, but at 23.5, 3 different sports books we're seeing the betting public. Those folks with real money in hand, they're putting their money down on the under on Garland. They think 23 or less points is what he ends up with tonight. And it's hard to argue against it. 0 for 3 against the Raptors. The Raptors defense doing a really good job against opposing point guards. So dare we take another star like Darius Garland under on his points? I don't know. Like I said, never going to feel comfortable taking the under on the likes of Giannis, the likes of Darius Garland, but maybe maybe there's an option there. Maybe there's a way. I probably would feel a little more comfortable about taking the under on Giannis, as crazy as that sounds, than I would Garland. But, who knows? Anything can happen. All right, we're going to talk about some assist props. So while I take a little water break, you guys start hitting me with your favorite assist props. If there's any points props that I miss, listen, I apologize, but I can't stay on here forever. I try to get to as many questions as I can, as one man can, in a hour and a half that I give you guys of my time. But if you ever have any more questions, use the comment section below. Jump inside Discord. I talked about it earlier at the top of the show. There's a link down in Discord below. There's a lot of people, me and a whole bunch of other people, thousands of people in there, in fact, who would love to talk more player prop talk with you. So if we don't talk about it on the live stream, don't worry about it, man. There's still opportunities for us to chop it up over some props. Try Discord, try the comment section below. We're all here to help. We're all part of this community together. Now, with that being said, water break for me. Start leaving some assist props that you guys want me to look into. And if you're just getting here, hello to you. Sorry I missed you, but I'm glad that you're joining. Isaac's in the building. He says, what up? Happy Thursday. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's just go through while you guys are leaving some assist props for me to consider, to take a look at. Let's go through this list here and see what's popping off in terms of assists. We got CJ McCollum at 6.5 assists, 70% hit rate. He's got the highest hit rate over the last 10 games of the players that are currently available. Darius Garland's also up there for assists at 60%. So maybe you don't like Darius Garland's points in a tough matchup against Toronto. Maybe he's going to have to defer to his teammates a little bit more. Evan Mobley, Isaac Okoro, etc. Maybe you want to take the over on Darius Garland's assists instead. Otherwise, a lot of guys hitting at 50% like Evan Mobley, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, and Raul Neto. So those are your good or not so good, as far as hit rates go on these assists. I'm seeing a lot of interesting plays here. A lot of interesting picks being shared. I want to talk about this one first and foremost because I was wondering if PrizePicks was going to give us this one or not, and it looks like they are. I did take this guy last time that he played, and he did end up coming through with 5 assists, and it's Monte Morris, man. Monte Morris of the Denver Nuggets. No, not a household name. No, he's not dropping 10-plus dimes like Darius Garland might, but Monte Morris has been hitting his assist prop at a pretty high clip. Let's go take a look at it together. Monte Morris and the Denver Nuggets taking on the Phoenix Suns in what looks like a high scoring and competitive game. So he's at 3.5 dimes right now on PrizePicks. So for the season, at 3.5 assists, 67% hit rate. Not too shabby. But we look at the last 10 here more recently. At 3.5 assists, he's hit the over in 8 out of 10, an 80% hit rate. So things are looking pretty good here for Monte Morris. And then in his last 5 at 3.5 assists, 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate. As I mentioned, against the Clippers, ended up with 5 assists. So he did hit the over in that game. Now against Phoenix this season, things get a little bit more shaky for Morris. He's faced Phoenix twice, back in October and again in November, and he finished with 3 assists in both of his previous contests against the Phoenix Suns. So could be a tougher matchup tonight against Phoenix versus the last game's opponent was the Los Angeles Clippers, I believe. So tonight, gonna go up against a much better team at Los Angeles. So looking at the Suns, they give up the second fewest assists to opposing teams, 22.6 assists allowed. So, yeah, like I said, tough matchup for them. Let's look at the last 15 games and the assists allowed by Phoenix, 2 point guards. Pulling that up here, we're going to scroll down. Phoenix. Must have skipped them. I must have skipped them. Where are they at? I'm having a blind moment. There they are. All right. 7.5 assists allowed. So you can see where they rank. It's the 6th fewest assists allowed to point guards. He needs 4. They're giving up over 7, nearly 8 per game. So I wouldn't say that it's impossible, but we've seen what he's done against Phoenix in the past, right? Ended up with 3 in 2 different meetings against Phoenix. Does he finally break the curse tonight? Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's looking kind of tough here against a tougher opponent with the Suns. Looking at the last 7 games and assists allowed by Phoenix in their last 7 to point guards, Phoenix has given up about 7.4. So the number hasn't really changed a whole lot from last 15 to last 7. Let's move forward. Let's get you a projection on Mr. Monte Morris here. They have him projected for 3.6 assists. At 3.5, the betting public taking the over on Monte Morris. They believe in him. They think he could go for 4 or more dimes against the Suns tonight in a high-scoring, close competitive matchup. Minus 130 to go over 3.5 assists. So there you go. Yeah, Monte Morris, probably worth considering. Appreciate King Sab leaving that one. Or King Sabby. I don't know how you say your name. That's a funny spelling. But anyway, yeah, maybe Monte Morris at 3.5 assists should be on your radar. Taking a look at some of these other assist props, I see a lot of people shouting out Steven Adams. Well, Steven Adams isn't up on the board right now. But if he is up on the board at a decent number, maybe 3.5 assists with Ja Morant playing, he seems to do better with his assist prop. If Ja Morant is in, then maybe we consider some Steven Adams. What I'll do, though, is get you a projection on Adams. Oh, well, I don't even have one. It doesn't even look like I got a projection for Adams. Let me try this again here. Nope. No projections even yet for Steven Adams. So I think they're waiting on the Ja Morant news, which is probably going to be a smart move. Let's wait and see what Ja Morant's status is. Knicks Rashad for life is mentioned in one here. He's got Zach LaVine going over on assists. Well, I don't know what Zach LaVine's prop number is going to be at for his assists yet because we're waiting on DeMar DeRozan news. But Zach LaVine at like 3.5 assists would be very juicy. If he was at 4.5 assists, that one would still be rather doable. So anything between like 3.5 and 4.5 assists, I'm feeling pretty good about Zach LaVine. Now, if they put him up at 5.5, 5.5 assists, I start getting a little bit uncomfortable with. Let's see if I could pull up any info on Zach LaVine. Not yet. No Chicago props yet. So yeah, they're waiting on the DeMar DeRozan news. But if Zach LaVine is in there at like 4.5, then I think he's definitely worth considering. Fred VanVleet at 5.5. That's one that we could probably take a look at. No, he's not up on the PrizePicks board, but that's okay. We could still look at it. Let's take a look at Mr. VanVleet. Or maybe we can't. Let's refresh here on Props.Cash. See if they've added Fred VanVleet's assist prop. There we go. So we're not seeing Fred VanVleet's assist at 5.5 up on the PrizePicks board, but yeah, VanVleet at 5.5, especially with, Anunoby out, Gary Trent out, I think Fred VanVleet becomes a viable option. You can also go and remove OG Anunoby and remove Gary Trent Jr. from the lineup and see what Fred VanVleet's hit rates are. So for those of you who do have access to Fred VanVleet at 5.5 assists on one of these sites out here, this season, VanVleet has only covered 5.5 assists without Anunoby and Trent in 1 out of 3 games. He did have 9 dimes against Chicago back 3 days ago, March 21st. So that's kind of encouraging. But you look at the previous games here, he had 3 against Boston, 3 against Memphis. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll give us VanVleet, but right now we're not seeing him on the board. He is projected for 7 dimes tonight against the Cavaliers. At 5.5 assists, the betting public is smashing the over on VanVleet, minus 160 and minus 145. So, very strong odds for Fred VanVleet. Raul Neto is one that Leroy likes. He likes the over at 4.5 assists on Raul Neto at 4.5, going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's take a look at my man Neto here. He is somebody that we don't consider or haven't talked about a whole lot on this channel, on these streams in the past, but maybe we should. Maybe we should put some respect on Raul Neto. Let's take a look. Over the last 10 games, Neto has covered in just 50% of his games. Hey, there's the Chicago Bulls. Ask and ye shall receive. Zach LaVine's up at 5 assists. We'll have to maybe talk about him in just a moment. But Raul Neto at 4.5 assists looks like, just a 50% hit rate over the last 10 games. Not the greatest hit rates in the world. We look at the last 5 games, things improve a little bit. 60% hit rate over the last 5, averaging 5.8 assists. And then previous matchups against Milwaukee, listen, his role was a lot different back then. November, he had no assists. Back in February, start of February, just 3 assists. But with Bradley Beal out, with Spencer Dinwiddie no longer on the team, Kyle Kuzma's going to be out. There's a lot of different guys who are out of the lineup now, who are no longer with the team. So Neto's been taking on a lot more minutes lately. So you almost have to disregard what he's done in the past, right? Looking at this Milwaukee Bucks defense, they are giving up a good amount of assists to opposing teams. They rank 23rd, meaning they're giving up over 25 dimes per game to opposing point guards. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Last 15 games, Milwaukee Bucks defense. How many assists are they giving up to point guards? 8.7. 8.7 in the last 15, which puts them like right in the middle of the league. So not a very tough matchup here for Neto. We look at the last 7 games, assists allowed by Milwaukee. Boom. 10 assists allowed. So their assists allowed have gone up over the last 15 to the last 7 games, giving up over 10 dimes per game in the last 7. That's the 6th highest. So maybe Neto's in a better spot now than he was in the last 15 games. So we go take a look at the projections for Neto. I have him projected for 3.9, which, even if we're feeling generous and we want to round that up and call it 4 is not more than 4.5. So they've got him projected slightly less than 4.5. We're looking at him on at least one book on PointsBet here. They've got him betting a betting favorite over 4.5 at minus 125. Otherwise, we're not really seeing a whole lot of line movement on Neto. Let's talk LaVine now that they've posted some Chicago Bulls props. LaVine's at 5 assists. I'm not sure if DeRozan's in or out just yet, but we could go ahead and talk about Zach LaVine. Let's see if we got any info on him on Props.Cash. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So at 4.5 assists, you can see what he's been doing over the last 10 games. He's covered in 8 out of 10. That's an 80% hit rate, but we don't get him at 4.5 on PrizePicks. No, they got him at 5, so we got to bump him up to 5. Now at 5 or more assists, he's still covering in 8 out of 10, or hitting in 8 out of 10. 5 or more assists in 8 out of 10. He's averaging 5.6 in the last 10 games, 6.6 in his last 5 games. So things have gotten even better here for LaVine over the last 5, dropping more dimes than ever. And then against New Orleans this season, he had exactly 5 assists. That was back in October, quite some time ago. Now, one other thing that you could do here is go to the season view using Props.Cash. You can also take out a couple of different players, one being DeMar DeRozan. Obviously, he's not going to be, potentially not going to be in the lineup. And you could take Lonzo Ball out. There's only one game that we can reference where both DeRozan and Ball were out. In that game, back on January 24th against the Oklahoma City Thunder, Zach LaVine had 7 assists in that game. So it's a very small sample size, but it's at least something to look at, right? Now let's say DeMar DeRozan does play, and the only player that we really have to worry about is Lonzo Ball being out. With Lonzo Ball out of the lineup, Zach LaVine at 5 assists this season. He's hit in quite a few games here, quite a few. They're saying 13 out of 21, but those are just the games where he's went over 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So he's really 18 out of 21 with 5 or more assists, I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how you would look at that. Anyway, seems to do a pretty good job at dropping 5 or more assists from the looks of things. Now we're going to go look at the last 15 games. Shooting guards against the New Orleans Pelicans. How many assists is New Orleans giving up to shooting guards in the last 15? About 4.8 for those of you asking and wondering. About 4.8, which isn't a whole lot. But the matchup, kind of middle of the road. Not overly difficult nor easy. Looking at the last 7 games, does that average go up or down? Well, it goes up slightly. 5.3 assists allowed to shooting guards in their last 7 games. So there you go. A little bit of info on Zach LaVine. Taking a look at a projection for Zach. I got him projected for 4.7, as I mentioned, at 4.5 on all major sports books. They are smashing the over. Minus 145, minus 150, minus 160 on these sites. So PrizePicks gave him a little bumperoo. Went from 4.5 up to 5. So there's a good chance that if you take the over here, just know that it could tie. It could be a push. Which isn't the worst situation in the world, but not ideal. We would rather him have like a clean win going for 6 or more assists if we take the over at 5. So hopefully he goes for 6 or more if you decide to take the over. But for me, I think it looks like a pretty good spot for us to possibly target an over on Zach LaVine. All right, so those are some different assist props. Listen, I know. I didn't get to them all. I'm sorry if I missed one, if I skipped over one. It's nothing personal. Only got so much time to talk about these different props. But again, comment section, use that, or jump in Discord. Tag me if you want me to look into a prop. Is this looking good, CJ? Is this looking bad? Let me know how you're feeling. I don't mind taking a few minutes out and trying to help you navigate the player prop waters like I do here on YouTube. All right. With that being said, let's move it on over to rebounds here because we're already an hour into the stream. All right, we still got to talk about rebounds, some PRA, some three-point makes, some free throw makes, and some blocks and steals. So we got to keep it moving. We can't talk about assists forever. So let's talk about some rebounds. If you have some rebound props that you're liking, let me know. Brandon, what website am I on? Well, I'm on a number of different websites. This one here is Action Labs. It's a part of Fantasy Labs. Yes, you have to pay for it. But in my opinion, well worth the money. I'm also using Props.Cash. If you don't use Props.Cash, link to Props.Cash down in the description of this video. You get 25% off your first month when you use code Curry. This is Fantasy Pros. It's a free DVP, defense versus position chart that is updated daily by Fantasy Pros. So just go out on Google, type in FanDuel NBA defense versus position, and you should find the link to this. This is StatMuse, and yeah, that's pretty much all that we're looking at here for these different sites and things. Anyway, switching it up from assists, we're going to go to rebounds and look and see who the top hitting rebounders are. So if you have some rebound props you want me to take a look at, let me know now. Appreciate all the likes, by the way. Appreciate all the likes. Jonas Valanciunas, 11.5 rebounds, 60% hit rate. CJ McCollum, his teammate, 4.5 rebounds, 60% hit rate. Looking at Giannis here for Milwaukee at 12.5 boards, a 60% hit rate for him. After those three, things get kind of ugly here. We're talking 50% hit rates on the rest of these guys. Lauri Markkanen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, KCP, Raul Neto, all at 50%. Beyond that, a bunch of 40% rebounders. So it's looking kind of ugly here. Normally 70, 80, 90% hit rates. We're not getting a whole lot of those on today's slate. Now I already see somebody's talking about some Jonas Valanciunas. Jonas Valanciunas. Joval. You want to take a look at Joval. Let's go ahead and take a look at Jonas Valanciunas. He's one of the few that are hitting at a decent hit rate. Now, he's at 11.5 by default here on Props.Cash, but he's at 10.5 over here on PrizePicks. So we got to take a look at Joval a little bit closer here. There's a little discrepancy between these two lines. So Joval, last 10 games at 11.5 rebounds, 60%, but he's at 10.5 on PrizePicks. When we bump him down to 10.5, his hit rates over the last 10 games don't change at all. He's still at 60%, 6 out of 10. His averages for the season, 11.5, which is more than 10.5. Last 10 games, 10.9, and the last 5 especially have been really good for Joval, getting 12.8 rebounds per game on average in his last 5 games. He's riding a current 4-game hit streak, 12, 12, 12, and 18 in those games. So he faced off against DeAndre Ayton, pulled in 12 boards against Ayton. Jakob Poeltl, another quality rebounding big man, had 12 rebounds against him. Clint Capella, another quality rebounding big man, had 12 boards against him. And then Charlotte, no surprise, his number goes way up because they don't really have any quality big men. I mean, Mason Plumlee's the starter. Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas feasted on Mason Plumlee. So how has he done against the Chicago Bulls this season? Well, they've only played each other once, and it was a long time ago. It was back in October at the start of the season. He had just 8 rebounds against Nikola Vucevic in that game. Just 8 boards. Didn't really come close to sniffing 11, which is what he would need if you wanted to take the over on Joval. Now, there's a lot of different moving parts and pieces for this New Orleans Pelicans team as far as guys who can be in or out tonight. So definitely keep an eye on that. But let's look at the splits for Joval. At home, at 10.5 rebounds, 59% hit rate. On the road at 10.5 rebounds, 63% hit rate. So a slightly better hit rate when he plays on the road than home, but not significant enough for me to say fade it because he's at home tonight. No, I wouldn't say fade it by any means. Let's move forward here. Let's take a look at the Chicago Bulls over the last 15 games. How many rebounds are they giving up to the center position? We go down because Chicago kind of stingy. They're giving up about 15 boards per game, which kind of puts them somewhere right around the middle of the pack, down toward the bottom though. The closer you are down toward the bottom, the more difficult the matchup can be. Looking at the last 7 games, seeing if Chicago's rebounds allowed change at all. They do, but they change for the worse in this case. If you're looking to take the over on Joval, they're giving up just 13.6 boards. That is the 6th fewest in the last 7 games by the Chicago Bulls. So either they're not facing good rebounders, the Bulls, they're not facing good rebounders. Either that's the case, or they're just really good at keeping centers off of the boards. Moving it forward here, let's get you a projection on Jonas Valanciunas. He is projected for 11.3 rebounds, which is slightly more than the 10.5. That's encouraging to see that the projection models are liking the over on Jonas Valanciunas. We're seeing him at 10.5 boards on 2 sites. Now, 10.5, the public is smashing the over, minus 140 and minus 145 on Valanciunas. So those are some pretty strong odds, some pretty strong juice on the over. He's even as high as 11.5 rebounds on one other book. But at 11.5, they think that's pushing it. That's a little bit too rich for those people, and they're taking the under. They think 11 rebounds or less is probably the way to go for Joval. At 11.5, they do not like the over. One other thing that we could do, we could utilize StatMuse here, and we could take a look at Jonas Valanciunas versus Nikola Vucevic logs. Just want to take a look at this and see how many rebounds that Joval has had, versus Nikola Vucevic throughout their career. So he had 8, 7. Here's a couple of overs, 14 and 16. So with Vucevic on the Bulls, he's only covered his rebound prop against Vuce in 1 out of 3 games. Going back here when Vucevic was with Orlando, he had 16 boards there. 24 against Vucevic back in March 22nd of 2019. And then you keep going back here. There's not a whole lot of games where he's went for 11 or more rebounds against Nikola Vucevic. All right. So Vuce does a pretty good job at keeping Joe Val off the boards. A lot of these games, you're seeing a lot of single-digit rebound outputs. Now, obviously, this is all the way back in 2012. So you don't want to go back too far. But more recently here, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the last 5 meetings, he's went over 10.5 boards in just 2 out of 5. So may not be the best spot to take an over on Jonas Valanciunas rebounds. Looking at some other ones that you guys are talking about here. Other rebound props. Lauri Markkanen over 6.5 boards. Yeah, let's look at him here. He's going up against Toronto at 6.5 rebounds. Let's see what Mr. Markkanen's been up to. Appreciate all you guys joining me. Appreciate everybody leaving their favorite player props. If you feel so inclined, let's hit the like button. Keep the channel going and growing. Lauri Markkanen in the last 10 games at 6.5 rebounds. Not the best hit rates in the world. You're going to look at this and be like, well, dang, I wish I saw, more consistency out of Lauri Markkanen. I agree with you. He's been very up or down, especially in his last 5 games. Over the last 10, he is averaging 6.9 rebounds. But this guy is anything but consistent. Like I said, over, under, over, under, over. A little bit of a pattern forming. Does that mean he's going to go under tonight? Not necessarily, but it is interesting to see how he kind of has good games and then bad games over the last 5. Going up against Toronto tonight, he has faced them 2 times this season, has covered in both games versus the Raptors, 7 boards against Toronto back on December 26th, and 12 rebounds in a recent matchup back on March 6th. So he crushed his rebound prop against the Raptors the last time that they faced off. Now you could also go to the season view here. You can take a guy like Jarrett Allen out of the mix using Props.Cash and get an idea how well the hit rates look here for Lauri Markkanen when Jarrett Allen's not out on the court. He's played in 11 games without Jarrett Allen, and in those 11 games, he has covered in 6 out of 11. Now, we mentioned earlier that Cleveland's going to be on the road, so you could take it a step further and look at road games without Jarrett Allen. Has he covered at a high rate or a low rate? In this case, it's a pretty low rate, just 40%, 2 for 5. So, not the greatest situation here for Lauri Markkanen tonight. Looking at the defense for the Toronto Raptors, they rank 15th in total rebounds, 17th in offensive, and 12th in defensive rebounds. Taking a look at the last 15 games, rebounds allowed to power forwards because Markkanen playing more power forward these days with Jarrett Allen out. Mobley typically at center, Markkanen at the 4. The Toronto Raptors in the last 15 games, rebounds allowed to power forwards just 9.5. 9.5. Now, he needs 7. He's at 6.5. They're giving up 9.5. That's a difference of 3 rebounds for those of you who aren't good at the maths. I'm not good at the maths either, but that's easy math, right? A 3 rebound difference. And you can see where they rank 8th. 8th fewest to power forwards in the last 15 games. Let's look at the last 7 as well. See if things change much at all. Toronto giving up about 8.4 rebounds. So they're actually giving up a rebound less, I should say. A rebound less in the last 7 games versus the last 15. So 5th fewest. 5th fewest. So kind of a tough matchup here from what it looks like against the Raptors. But like I said, he's overcome difficult matchups in the past. In this, previous matchups against the Raptors, he's 2 out of 2. He's projected for 6.2 boards according to Action Labs, and at 6.5 rebounds, he is a betting favorite to go under on 2 out of 3 sports books that we're able to reference. So the public is not feeling so good about Lauri Markkanen's chances tonight. Very inconsistent player over the last 5 and 10 games. So, I don't feel so good about him. Matt says that you should go over the fantasy props. I'm more than down to go over some fantasy points props. It's just we never really have time for the fantasy props, I guess you could say. What other rebound props are you guys liking here? Leroy, you're mentioning Nikola Vucevic over 9.5 boards. Well, he's at 10 right now on PrizePicks. Let me refresh. Yeah, he's sitting at 10 right now over on PrizePicks. But, Vucevic, maybe he could get the job done tonight. Let's take a look at He's at 10.5 from the looks of things out on all the sports books. Let's bump him down to 10 like he is on PrizePicks. And you can see over the last 10 games, he's hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games. 5 games out of 10. At 10 rebounds or more. So that's like a 50% hit rate. Not doing a great job, is he? Looking at previous matchups against New Orleans, he's only played the Pelicans once, had just 4 rebounds in that game. Despite playing 31 minutes, ended up with just 4 rebounds in that game. So not a very good situation for Vucevic. I don't know if you're looking to take the over or under, but as far as the Pelicans defense, they rank 3rd in total rebounds, 1st in offensive, and 4th in defensive rebounds. So it's looking kind of tough here. Last 15 games, New Orleans Pelicans against opposing centers. They are giving up, about 14 to 15 rebounds per game over the last 15. Not the greatest number in the world. We look at the last 7, Pelicans versus opposing centers. About 13.7. So I don't know, man. I'm not totally in love with this situation here for Vucevic right now. Vucevic's projection is at 11.6 projected rebounds. He's at 9.5 boards on all the sports books, but they are smashing the over. Minus 145, minus 140. You can also take a look at this here and go Nikola Vucevic rebounds versus Jonas Valanciunas logs, and get an idea of how Vucevic has done against Jonas Valanciunas in their career. The last 3 games that they've met, all 3, when Vucevic was a member of the Chicago Bulls, he's gone 2 out of 3 at hitting 10 or more rebounds. So about a 67% hit rate. Looking at the last 5, he is covered in 3 out of 5. He's hit 10 or more in 4 out of 5. So an 80% hit rate versus Jonas Valanciunas in their last 5 games. So that just gives you a little bit more insight on Vucevic. I don't know, man. I don't know though. Not the sexiest. You know, I wish this was a little bit better. Not feeling it. But that's up to you. Up to you. Let's move on for some rebounds though. Tim D. Robb says, "Is the Patreon worth it?" What does that question mean? What is really the what are you asking when you ask that question? Is it worth it? I don't know what that means. Like, will you at least make your $20 back? I think that's pretty easy to do. You win a $10 2-pick power play and it pays for itself. So one $10 2-pick power play and you're up $20, right? And then it's paid for, and then you're free rolling for the rest of the month. So I mean, that's how I look at it. It's like 66 cents per day. Is the Patreon worth it at $20 a month? It's 66 cents per day, I think. I don't know. You know, is it worth it? I guess. I don't know how to answer that. Anyway, there's the points, the assists, the rebounds. Let's quickly look at some PRA options here. Yeah, if I sign up, can I retire from my job? Listen, you think I would be on here if that was the case? Real King? Do you think I would keep showing up here if I had all the secrets and was winning every single time, every single night? I would not be here. I'd be off on a beach, sipping a cold alcoholic beverage, most likely with my toes in the sand somewhere, or maybe on a yacht. If you want to be a part of a community who's focused on player props and prize picks for $20 a month, I think it's a pretty okay deal. All right. I don't know what that means, though. Is it worth it? I don't know. Yeah, I guess $20. I mean, can you swing 66 cents a day? Can you win a $10 2-pick power play over the course of an entire month? Those are the questions you should ask yourself to answer that question, I think. No, Real King. If I was crushing every single night, every single day, I would not be here. I would not be. You wouldn't see me on YouTube, man. Like I said, I'd be on a yacht somewhere. Gang, we've got breaking news. Giannis Antetokounmpo is out. Giannis Antetokounmpo is out for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. That's good because I think we were thinking about taking some unders on Giannis Antetokounmpo. So no Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, not wanting to get freaky tonight against the Washington Wizards. So there you go. Drew Holiday could be the man. Looks like all the Milwaukee Bucks have been pulled from the board, though. So hopefully you were able to strike when the iron is hot. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some PRA options. We will not be able to talk about the Bucks for the time being because I'm sure once they get reposted to PrizePicks, their lines will be much, much different than what we saw before. But looking at the highest hit rate PRA guys, a lot of these guys are not all that great. I mean, Darius Garland, 60%, Evan Mobley, 60%, KCP, 60%, Nikola Jokic at 60%. So we got our first Woj bomb, I guess you could say, with Giannis being ruled out. But what are you guys liking for PRA? These hit rates aren't the greatest. We've already talked about Garland for points, looking like a difficult matchup for Garland. We haven't really spoken much about Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley going up against Toronto. KCP for Washington going up against Milwaukee. Now Milwaukee doesn't have Giannis. Let's see here. You guys are talking about some Jackson Hayes over 17.5 versus Chicago. Well, that's a name that we have not discussed a whole lot. Let's talk about him, man. Let's talk about Jackson Hayes. Let's feature young Jackson Hayes at 17.5. Looking at the last 10 games for Jackson Hayes, you're going to say, oh man, it's just a 50% hit rate. But when we look at the last 5 games, he's at an 80% hit rate. And he came really close to covering against Charlotte, ended up with just 17 PRA in that game. So literally one more of a point, a rebound, or assist, and he would have hit the over and continued his streak. But you know how it goes. All good things must come to an end at some point. But he did go for 27, 20, 24, and 25 PRA before falling short in what was probably an easy matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, right? Tonight he gets the Chicago Bulls. He's played the Bulls once, but it was all the way back in October. His role was a lot less of a role than it is now. He's playing a lot better minutes and more minutes now. So looking at this matchup against the Bulls, 17th in points allowed, 9th in rebounds, and 17th in assists. This game total, 225.5, is pretty nice with a 2-point spread. So I think that there's a little bit of hope here for Jackson Hayes to get back on track after falling just short in his last game against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, he's typically playing power forward. I'm assuming Brandon Ingram's going to be out. You guys have already said Brandon Ingram's going to be out until like April. I don't think they're in a rush to bring Brandon Ingram back, truthfully. Why would they be, right? He's going up against the Bulls. The Bulls are giving up 20 points, 10 rebounds. That's already 31 PRA and 3 assists. So over 33 PRA given up in the last 15 games to power forwards. This young man needs 18. So plenty of upside, plenty of room for him to hit the over. Now looking at the last 7 games, Bulls are giving up 19 points, 12 rebounds. That's already 31 to 32 PRA. And then 3 assists, 4 assists on top of that. You know, he's well on his way. They're giving up double the PRA versus, you know, what he needs at 18. So I think Jackson Hayes is in a pretty good spot tonight. Looking at the PRA projection for Hayes, I got him projected for 23.2. That's a whole heck of a lot more than 17.5. But at 17.5, the public not feeling great about Jackson Hayes. They are betting it under. I think they could be wrong in this case, though. I think Jackson Hayes has a chance to get back on track versus the Chicago Bulls based on what we're seeing here. I mean, the dude's just been doing his thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 games in a row where he hit the over. Yeah, he stumbles a little bit against Charlotte, but again, maybe he gets back on track tonight. I ain't mad at Jackson Hayes. King, I don't blame you. If you're not feeling it, man, listen, it's just a little NBA slate, but if you're not feeling it, man, don't force it. You don't have to play. Sometimes it's good to just take a night off, maybe play another sport, maybe don't do any type of, NBA or prize picks or anything. It's okay to take a day off. Don't feel like you have to do it. You don't always have to play. But yeah, I'm rocking with the Jackson Hayes over 17.5 PRA. Let's see if he bounces back tonight. Could be one of those spots where he gets back on track. PrizePicks should let you replace a prop if they're ruled out hours before the game starts. Well, I think you could get it refunded if they end up being a DNP. So if you've put Giannis in your lineup and he's now a DNP, I believe you could contact support and you could go ahead and get that entry refunded. I think that's how it works. Days 522 says Wood over rebounds. Forgot to thank you for that line of thought. Yeah, Christian Wood did hit his rebound prop. Despite all the foul trouble, he still got it done late. Kappa, he's talking about some Porzingis. Let's take a look at Kristaps Porzingis. He's at 29.5 PRA going up against Milwaukee without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Maybe things get a little bit easier for Kristaps Porzingis. I know our first thought is, well, with Giannis out, which Milwaukee Bucks benefit? But what we often overlook is, with Giannis out, what about the other team? And how do they benefit without Giannis Antetokounmpo in the lineup? It has to help a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, right? You would think. Maybe it helps a guy like Rui Hachimura out a little bit too. Those guys who play the 4-5 position for Washington could be in better spots. So I think Kristaps Porzingis might have an easier time tonight. So let's take a look at KP6 here. Porzingis now going up against the Milwaukee Bucks team that doesn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo in there, rebounding, blocking shots, defending, and things like that. Maybe KP6 has a better path here without Giannis around. He's at 29.5 PRA. We look at the last 10 games, 60% hit rate, 6 out of 10. So not a bad hit rate. We look at the last 5 games, more importantly, and he's at an 80% hit rate, 4 out of his last 5. The only game he struggled in was against the Denver Nuggets, where he had just 24 PRA in that one. Going up against the likes of Jokic and Aaron Gordon, 2 pretty good defenders in the front court. But as I mentioned, tonight, no Giannis. Maybe that helps Kristaps Porzingis' chances. Looking at the Milwaukee defense, 16th in points allowed, 17th in rebounds allowed, and 23rd in assists allowed. Now, they do rank number 1 in power forward defense. But again, you take Giannis out, and I think things fall off a little bit. It'll probably be more Bobby Portis, Serge Ibaka, Brook Lopez. And I ain't really worried about any of those guys defensively. Ibaka's old. Brook Lopez has never been a defender. And then Bobby Portis, maybe. Maybe you're worried about him, but not all that much, right? Anyway, let's go look at the Milwaukee Bucks last 15 games. PRA allowed 27 points to centers, 14 rebounds to centers. So you're already at 41 PRA, and then about 4.5 assists on top of that. That's like 45, 46 PRA allowed in the last 15 games. We look at the last 7 games. We look at the Milwaukee Bucks here, 26, 27 points allowed, about 13 rebounds. So that's like 40 PRA plus another 4 assists. That's like 44. He needs 30 to hit the over. So I think Kristaps Porzingis without Giannis in the mix could be a good look. Let's take a look at his projection. He's projected for 30.6. And at 29.5, the public was already betting the over at 29.5. Maybe it gets even better for him now. So, Kristaps Porzingis, 29.5 PRA. Easier time, easier matchup without Giannis around. Let's see. Any other PRA options? Appreciate you guys mentioning Kristaps Porzingis. Hopefully that analysis and some of these numbers and stuff makes you a little more confident if you do decide you want to take the over on Kristaps Porzingis. All right. I don't see any other PRA options. Let's move forward here from PRA. We'll look at some 3-point props. If you guys have any 3-point shooters that you recommend we take a look at as a community here, we can absolutely do that. But as of right now, the 3-point props that are up on the board, let's see, we got Scotty Barnes at 0.5 3-point makes. Don't really have any information for him in his last 10 as far as Scotty Barnes and his hit rates. Let's try refreshing Props.Cash here. Maybe they've pulled in more 3-point props. Which 3-point shooters are you guys liking, though? Let me know, and I'll be happy to take a look at them for you. Well, all right. Let's see. Scotty Barnes at 0.5 3-point makes, actually 7 out of 10. A 70% hit rate. Yes, Giannis is out. Cash Money Gamer. Giannis is out. He's out. He's out. He's out. King says, hit that like button now. Let's try to get to 100 likes, gang. Can we get to 100 likes? Is that asking too much? If it's asking too much, let me know. And I'll lower the bar for you guys. But I believe in you. And I think 100 likes is doable. Jonas Valanciunas at 0.5 3-point makes, a 60% hit rate in his last 10. Kristaps Porzingis, he's at 1.5. Not really seeing any Kristaps Porzingis hit rates for his 3-point makes, so I'm guessing he's not doing a great job. Zach LaVine at 2.5 3-point makes, 60%. CJ McCollum, 50%. Monty Morris, 60%. Which ones are you guys most interested in? The Overreaction Sports Podcast says CJ McCollum and Zach LaVine are the ones you're most interested in. Yeah, I think that game between New Orleans and Chicago could be one that would be fun for guards. Let's take a look at both of these guys. We'll start with Zach LaVine at 2.5 3-point makes, going up against New Orleans. He's been hitting his 3-point props at a pretty good clip. I think we're still waiting on DeMar DeRozan news, but as of right now, I mean, we can assume that DeRozan's going to be in unless something crazy happens. But last 10 games for DeMar DeRozan, or for Zach LaVine rather, 6 out of 10, 60% hit rate. He's averaging 2.8 makes for the season, 2.7 in his last 10, 2.8 makes in his last 5. And against the New Orleans Pelicans, the last time they played, he had 6 triples against New Orleans. The newest member of the New Balance basketball shoe brand, Zach LaVine, just signed with New Balance. Him and Kawhi Leonard holding it down for New Balance sneakers. But yes, Zach LaVine, man, 2.5 3-point makes. He made 6 against New Orleans the last time they met. Now, one thing that you could do here is take a look at the splits for Zach LaVine. Chicago is on the road tonight, so home splits, 46% of the time he hits at home. On the road, 55%. So surprisingly, he makes more threes at a higher clip on the road than he does at home. Now, if we take Lonzo Ball out, we can also look at his hit rates for the season. Without Lonzo Ball, 58% hit rate. On the road, 53%. And at home, 64%. So without Lonzo Ball, he hits at a higher hit rate at home than he does on the road, which goes against everything that I just said. Now, if we take Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan out, what happens? Well, he's only played one game without those two players. In that game, he knocked down 3 triples against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that was on the road. So that kind of gives you an idea. If DeMar DeRozan is out, maybe what we can expect. He did cover in the one game that we could reference. Anyway, the New Orleans Pelicans, they ranked 21st in total threes allowed, 22nd in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, and just 16th against opposing shooting guards. So we're going to go to the shooting guard spot. We're going to go to 3 p.m., which stands for 3-point shots made. And we're going to go look at the last 15 games, see how many threes that the Pelicans are giving up. They're giving up about 3.2, which is more than 2.5, giving us hope and optimism that Zach LaVine has a clear path to hit the over. Now, in the last 7 games, they're giving up even more threes to shooting guards at 3.7, nearly 4 threes per game. So yes, I think LaVine's in a pretty sweet spot here at just 2.5. Projection for Zach LaVine, 3. They think he's going to make at least 3 threes tonight. But at 2.5 on a couple of different sports books, they're taking the under. They're betting the under on Zach LaVine. But I think he's in a good spot. What do you guys think? I think he's in a good spot. You guys mentioned CJ McCollum. I think he's probably in a good spot too. We could talk about him and his buddy, Jonas Valanciunas, who needs to make at least 1 3 tonight against Chicago. So let's look at the both of them. McCollum, 2.5 3-point makes. Last 10 games, just 50%. Not great. Not great. Against Chicago this season, had 1 and 2. Now, these games were both when he was a member of the Portland Trail Blazers. He is now with New Orleans, or New Orleans, however you prefer to say it. So last 5 games here for CJ McCollum, a little bit better at 60% hit rate. He's gone 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Not terrible, but not the greatest. As far as the Bulls defense, they rank 4th in total threes allowed, 25th in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, and 3rd against opposing shooting guards. Looking at the last 15, how many threes are the Bulls giving up to shooting guards? Well, looks like 3.3, which is more than 2.5. And in the last 7 games, they are giving up 3.6. So their three-point makes allowed average has gone up from the last 15 to the last 7. So that's a bit of encouraging news here for McCollum. Now I have him projected at exactly 3 3-point makes as well. Minus 125 betting favorite to go over. Now you guys are asking about Jonas Valanciunas, who is at 0.5. Well, at 0.5, I've got him projected for 0.8, which is, a little bit higher than 0.5, close to making at least 1. The betting public thinks he'll knock down at least 1. We can go back and look at how he's done against Vucevic throughout their career. As far as 3-point makes go, 0, 1, 0, 0, and 2. So he's hit 1 or more against Vucevic in their last 5 games in 2 out of 5. So this is truly going to be one of those boomer bust props. It's very rare that he knocks down 2. So it's either going to be 0 or 1. Pretty binary, right? It's either going to be a hit or a miss, like a home run prop. It's either going to hit or it's not. He's not going to go for 2 3-point makes typically. So I don't know. I don't like these types of props personally. If you're going to go for one, like wouldn't you want to go with like maybe like a Scotty Barnes instead at 0.5? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Jonas Valanciunas, you guys are liking this? Let's go to the Chicago Bulls over the last 15 and see how many threes they're giving up to centers. Bulls are giving up about 0.98. 0.98. Which is almost 1. He's not going to take a bunch of threes, right? He's going to take a couple, and he's going to have to knock down the couple that he takes. Over the last 7 games, 1.1 threes given up. Y'all want to roll the dice on that, you do what you do. I don't know if I'm going to do that. Let's see what else you guys are looking at. Hunter said he locked in Matthew Stafford for 4,700 passing yards. Wow, they got NFL futures up already? Crazy. I ain't playing no futures. I don't want my money tied up in futures like that. I mean, you put that money in NFL futures, it's locked up for a long time. I mean, the NFL season just ended, so I don't know. I ain't down with the futures. I'd rather play it daily. Jay's Kicks wants to know, what's the best picks today? That's a good question. I'll let you know after they hit. Nah, I don't know. As of right now, I'm not sure what the best picks are. Appreciate all the new subscribers, by the way. We got Judge White Jr. It's Gopher. Left a super chat in here. He said Jokic under, but he didn't say Jokic under for what, though? It's Gopher. What are we liking Jokic under for? Joshua Smith, thank you for subbing. Tanner. Jay Rodriguez. Hayden wanted to know, sorry about that, Hayden. Hayden wanted to know, does Evan Mobley sell us on 15.5 points again today? 15.5 points. What do you guys think? Does Evan Mobley sell us on 15.5 points again today? That's a good question. Mobley seemingly is in a decent spot against the Raptors. I'm sorry I skipped over that, by the way. I hope you're still watching. I did not mean to skip over your super chat. My bad. I appreciate the super chat, by the way. Just now seeing that, though. Sometimes I get in the zone and I forget. But is Evan Mobley going to sell us at 15.5 points? Over the last 10 games, I mean, he's hit this in 6 out of 10, 60% hit rate. Over the last 5, though, yeah, I mean, he's sold a lot. He's only covered this in 2 out of 5. I don't know what's going on with Evan Mobley. You would like to think and believe that he could get it done, right? Needs 16 points. Last 10 games averaging 18 points. Last 5 averaging 19 points. But it's kind of deceiving when you see that average of 19 points being that he had 30 and 27. So that average is inflated by those 2 big scoring nights. Against Toronto this season, he has covered his 15.5 points in 2 out of 2 games against this Raptors squad. 18 and 20. Now, the 20 that he got was recent. That was March 6th. Do you guys think Evan Mobley scores at least 16 tonight? It's not looking like super difficult. Like I said, he's done it twice already, 18 and 20. Let's look at the matchup here. Mobley playing more of the center spot. Over the last 7 games, the Toronto Raptors are giving up, where they at? About 24 points per game to centers. So 24 versus he needs 16. I mean, there's definitely some upside in this matchup. Definitely some upside here. Looking at Mobley's points projection. Again, sorry, man. I did not realize that you left a super chat. Mobley, 15.3 projected points. At 15.5, we're seeing minus 125, minus 130, and juice as even high as minus 140 on Evan Mobley. So, there you go, man. That's the breakdown on Evan Mobley. I mean, he's covered twice against Toronto. It seems like he's due for another one of those games where he comes out and plays well. But, you know, Mobley kind of looking a little iffy. Anyways, gang, let's wrap this up. Let's talk about some free throw makes. Pretty simple. Guys who are going to get a lot of touches, high usage players. Zach LaVine being one of those. CJ McCollum being another. You know, they're going to have the ball in their hands quite a bit. Zach LaVine even more so if DeMar DeRozan is ruled out tonight. So maybe you could look his way. Taking a look at his last 5 games, you can see he's gone for 5 or more free throw makes in 5 straight games. So technically, 100% hit rate at 5 or more 3-point makes. So he wouldn't be a bad look, like I said, especially with DeRozan out. And then McCollum, he's covered 2.5 free throw makes in 3 straight games. So both of those guys could be in play. Jonas Valanciunas, probably not going to go there. And then blocks and steals, Pascal Siakam, Lauri Markkanen, Nikola Vucevic, and Alex Caruso. All on the board for blocks and steals. Let's take a look at these guys real quick. We've got Pascal Siakam at 1.5. Siakam over his last 10 games is covering this at just a 40% clip. Don't know that I want to go there. I mean, I would like a higher hit rate. Lauri Markkanen at 1.5, 50% hit rate for him. Not the greatest in the world. Not interested really in either one of those. Vucevic at 1.5, typically he does a pretty good job. He's at a 50% hit rate over the last 10. And then Alex Caruso, 1.5 at a 30% hit rate. So I don't know, gang. These steals and blocks are looking kind of sus today. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to any of them. What I'll do for you guys, though, if it helps out, I'll pull projections for all of them. Siakam projected for 1.9. Betting favorite to go over, according to the public, minus 135 odds. Lauri Markkanen projected for exactly 1.5. He is a betting favorite to go under, so the public not liking Lauri Markkanen's chances tonight. Nikola Vucevic projected for 1.9. Not seeing any juice over or under, so no action coming in on this prop as of right now. And then last but not least, Alex Caruso is projected for 2.2 blocks and steals. Public is liking the over on Caruso. So despite their hit rates, the ones that really stand out is probably going to be Caruso if you want to take the over there, and maybe Siakam. Those look like the two that are shining above the rest. But yeah, gang, I think that's going to be it, man. I think we've talked about quite enough here on a short NBA slate. I appreciate everybody for being here. Once again, I appreciate all the likes, man. We're going to keep trying to grow this channel out as much as possible. And the way that you can help do that, you could water the seeds by hitting the like button, making sure you're subscribed, sharing this live stream, this video with as many people as you know who play NBA player props. Appreciate all your help and support. If you want to continue the conversation about these player props, join Discord below. It's free to join Discord. If you want to take it to the next level, you can join Patreon. That's where we're really getting into the stats and info and digging into props and picks, is in Patreon. Or you can leave a comment down in the comment section after the replay of this video goes up. No matter how you want to reach out, I'm always available. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Good luck tonight. Peace.